In this video, we are talking about 7 players that you need to add immediately in fantasy football after week 5, plus 6 players that you must stash to get ahead of your league mates. But before we get into it, take a look at this graphic as it shows that just 8% of you who are watching my videos are subscribed. So if you could please take a moment, subscribe to the channel, like the video, I'd really appreciate it. Starting with my number 1 ad of the week, should not be surprising to anyone, and it is Tank Bigsby. While it looks like the Tank takeover is here, we need to talk about a couple things because Travis Etienne apparently got hurt on Sunday, injuring his shoulder. We know he had that shoulder injury in week 4 as well. But regardless, Bigsby clearly looks like the better back in Jacksonville right now and is coming off an incredible game. 13 carries, 101 yards, touchdown, 25.9 fantasy points. And that 65-yard touchdown was a thing of beauty. Like, if you watch it, it looked like it should have been a 5-yard loss. Tank makes a nice move, evades several defenders, stiff arms a dude into the dirt, and then turns on the Jets 4-6. Like, it was really impressive. Whether Etienne is healthy going forward or banged up, Bigsby has undoubtedly earned a larger role as he now ranks first in rush yards over expectation per attempt, first in yards per carry, third in PFF grades. He had 11 missed tackles forced on Sunday compared to Etienne, who ranks 27th in yards per carry, 55th in PFF grades. While Peterson still claims that Etienne is their guy, is their number 1 back, you need to be aggressive getting Tank on your team because Doug Peterson could be lying. They also only have 1 win on the year. They clearly need to make changes. I don't think they're going to look at Tank Bigsby, who's playing out of his mind right now, and be like, no, sorry, Etienne's our guy. You're not going to see much work if he's healthy. Like, I'm just not buying it. What if they rest Etienne for a couple of games? I would guess that it's the same shoulder that was bothering him in week 4, was bothering him again in week 5. So what if they shut him down for a couple of weeks? Like, if that's the case, Bigsby is an RB1 any game that Etienne is not on the football field. And I think he still holds tremendous value even if Travis is healthy, because how are they going to keep Tank off the field? He's clearly earned a larger role. He's going to be involved. He is playing at a different level right now. Like, these are the guys that you want to invest in, you want to bank on, especially as the season progresses, because let's just say Etienne suffers a season-ending injury. Tank Bigsby would be an RB1 for the rest of the year. So if you need a running back or if you want a high upside guy to stash away on your bench, be aggressive getting Tank on your team. At number 2, Darnell Mooney. Here's the facts. Mooney is a really good receiver. He was just held back for the last 4 years with the Chicago Bears. But now he is a capable quarterback in Kirk Cousins on a really good offense, and Mooney has been thriving, and he erupted in week 5, 9 receptions, 105 yards, 2 touchdowns on 16 targets, 31.5 fantasy points. Yes, Kirk Cousins threw the ball 58 times for 500 plus yards, but still, Mooney was a thing. Mooney was heavily involved in the game plan before last week, as he's averaging 15 fantasy points and 8 targets per contest, 97% route participation on the year, and he ranks first in the NFL in snap share. He's a crafty route runner and one of the most underrated receivers in the NFL in a really good situation. He's like Cousins' Adam Thielen in Minnesota. He's reliable. He always seems to be open. And I think Mooney is just looking like he's going to be a really good fantasy asset the rest of the year. We know Drake London is the alpha in that wide receiver room. And Kyle Pitts got it going a little bit last week, which was nice to see. But Darnell Mooney is still going to be heavily involved on a good offense attached to Kirk Cousins. Things we really like. These are players you want to bet on. These are players you want to get on your roster. And especially if you're dealing with injuries to the wide receiver position or have a lot of guys on bye, then go after Darnell, get him on your team. At number 3, Tyrone Tracy Jr. was a really intriguing player coming into the NFL, considering he switched positions his final year in college from wide receiver to running back. We just weren't sure how many opportunities he was really going to get on what we were projecting to not be a very good Giants offense. We know Devin Singletary was the workhorse guy in that backfield, and we figured that Tracy would only get an opportunity if Singletary got hurt. And that's exactly what happened, and Tracy made the most of his opportunities on Sunday. 18 carries, 129 yards, and he is the only running back in the NFL to gain positive yardage on every single run in a game with 15 plus rush attempts so far this year. That's super impressive. Daniel Jones is playing really solid football behind an offensive line that looks so much better than it did last season. Yes, Tracy is an exciting add this week as he clearly earned a bigger role, but don't go crazy with your fab because we really don't know the extent of Devin's injury. Yes, it's a groin injury. He could be back this week. He could miss another game. This is a rental player, right? This isn't a guy that you're going to have all year because when Singletary is healthy, he's going to be the RB1. I still do think Tracy's involved, but how much, right? Like, probably not going to be startable. Maybe he'll have some flex appeal, but the Giants don't really throw to the running back either, so Tracy doesn't have that flex PPR upside, but he needs to be rostered. He needs to be stashed away on your bench because these are guys that if the starter goes down, he will have league-winning upside. At number 4, Josh Downs has been balling out over the last 2 weeks, 28% target share, while averaging 8.5 receptions, 75 receiving yards per game, 2.34 yards per route run on the year. He's a crafty route runner, reliable hands, shifty after the catch, PPR machine. Those are all good things. And while I do think he's on his way to a big year, it is important to talk about that a lot of his success has come with Anthony Richardson on the bench, Joe Flacco under center. It's a really weird situation for the Colts because Flacco clearly is better in this offense. He clearly gives the Colts the best chance to win, but he's not the future. Anthony Richardson is their future, and it's not like the Colts are in contention for anything. So there's no real reason to play Flacco because you're building for the future. You're building around Anthony Richardson. So once AR is healthy, he's going to be the starter. Shane Steichen already reiterated that once he's healthy. But what does that mean? What if Anthony Richardson is out for 2 more weeks? What if he misses 3 more weeks? We don't really know. I don't think that the Colts are going to hold Richardson out if he's fully healthy, right? But that being said, if Richardson is under center, I don't really like Josh Downs as much as I do if Flacco is under center. So another guy that I wouldn't go crazy with your fab on because the Colts aren't going to play Flacco if Richardson is healthy. That's the facts. It's unfortunate for fantasy. It's unfortunate for Josh Downs, but that's what it's going to be. And will Josh Downs have some blow-up games with Richardson under center? Sure. But he's going to be more like a boom-bust wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4, really hard to trust. So I wouldn't go crazy with your fab on Downs just because Flacco's not going to be the starter for much longer, unfortunately. And that's just the reality of the situation. At number 5, Tai Chandler. Aaron Jones, we know, injured his hip on Sunday. And by the time this video comes out, we might have more information on the severity. How long will Jones be out? I will say, it is good news that it's not a hamstring injury because Jones was plagued by hamstring injuries all of last season when he played for the Packers. So I'd rather have a hip injury than a hamstring injury, especially for a running back, especially for an older running back. So hopefully this hip injury is minor, and Tai Chandler did not look good when he came in for Jones against the Jets. He did not make the most of his opportunities. 14 carries for 30 yards, 2.1 yards per carry. But we know Chandler is still a talented back. He's explosive. He can catch the football, and he's on a good offense. He's in a good ecosystem in Minnesota. We know Kevin O'Connell is a really good play caller, so it's a good situation where if Aaron Jones was going to miss extended periods of time, you're going to want Tai Chandler. He would be an RB2, locked in RB2 with RB1 upside because of the environment he's in, the skill set that he has. Yeah, it wasn't a great game against the Jets, but we've seen flashes of how good Chandler can be. So hopefully we have more clarity on the Aaron Jones injury. But if he's out a couple of weeks with all the buys and all the injuries that exist in fantasy football, you want to get Tai Chandler on your team. Minnesota does have a week 6 bye to get Aaron Jones healthy. So this isn't like the best ad because you can't play Chandler this week. This is a more wait and see. Maybe you're an Aaron Jones owner and you want that security. Go ahead and pick up Chandler. Running backs are hard to find, especially ones who are talented, are on good offenses that could be thrusted into an RB1 role for their team. That's why it's important to still go out and get Chandler. Just be smart with your fab because you can't use him this week, and Aaron Jones just might not miss many games. At number 6, Marshon Lloyd. I like to give you guys at least one sneaky ad that you won't see in most waiver wire videos this week. This is a speculative ad. This is a looking down the line, looking into the future type of ad. Talented rookie running back for the Packers, that is Lloyd, who has had the injury bug to start off his NFL career, but is eligible to come off the IR in week 7 and could earn a significant role going forward if he can stay healthy. We know Green Bay wants to use 2 running backs, which is why we've seen a lot of Emmanuel Wilson on the field, but I'd argue if Lloyd is healthy that he's probably already a better running back than Wilson. Marshon is explosive, elusive, he's a big play threat, tackle breaking machine type of player, and in his final 2 collegiate seasons, he finished top 20 in yards after contact per attempt, breakaway percentage, and PFF elusive grade. He's a type of guy that could be a league winner down the stretch. Every single year, we always have these running backs that come out of nowhere the second half of the year, and that could be Lloyd on a good Packers offense, similar to Minnesota. Good ecosystem, good offensive line, really good quarterback. Like, even if Josh Jacobs stays healthy and Lloyd earns that number 2 role, he could potentially have flex value, RB2 value, RB1 value if Jacobs were to ever get hurt. So these are guys you want to get on your team. If you have an IR spot, stash Lloyd there now, and he could provide tremendous value for you later in the year. At number 7, Jaylen Tolbert with Brandon Cooks on IR. Tolbert saw a larger role and came through in a big way on Sunday night. 7 receptions, 87 yards, in that game-winning touchdown on 10 targets, along with 21.7 fantasy points. Here's what I'll say. Tolbert is a nice player on a good Dallas offense, but he likely won't outproduce CeeDee Lamb again this season, who we all saw seem very upset with Dak on the sideline. He was chirping at him. They were not on the same page for most of the game. Dak seemed to just not look his way at times, so Tolbert benefited from that. Obviously, Lamb and Dak were upset. That really bad interception in the red zone. Nonetheless, Jaylen is the 3rd option in the passing game behind Lamb, behind Ferguson, until Cooks returns off IR, along with Jaylen sustaining a groin injury in week 5, so we don't even know if he's going to play this week, but if he plays, he has a nice matchup against Detroit, probably going to be a shootout against the secondary, who has allowed the 5th most receiving yards per game to perimeter wide receivers. So if you need a guy to plug into your lineup this week that has nice upside, let's say you lost Rashee Rice, Nico Collins, whatever it may be, I like Tolbert because of his situation, because of the high-scoring affair that it could be against the Lions, but monitor his practice reports, grab him on your team for cheap, and hopefully you benefit from his larger role until Brandon Cooks returns. Let's run through some quick honorable mentions. I like all Patriots wide receivers, Demario Douglas, Jalen Polk, Kendrick Bourne. Could even throw Javon Baker on there if you're in a deeper league, just because reports are coming out that Drake May could take over as the Patriots QB1, and if that happens, one of these wide receivers is going to benefit. I really like Demario Douglas. I think he's flying under the radar. No, he's not one of the flashy rookies, but he's played really well with Brissett. I think he could be playing even better with May under center. So go get one of these Patriots wide receivers. I also like Michael Wilson and Alec Pierce for the Colts. He's been really good with Richardson and with Joe Flacco. So he's another guy you could go get for cheap. Moving on to the stashes, I really like Keaton Mitchell, the Baltimore Ravens running back. This is a guy that's like Devon Achane-esque. He's lightning in a bottle. He's elusive. He can score from anywhere on the field. And if something were to happen to Derrick Henry, or if he comes back healthy and looks really good, he's going to have some sort of role. Granted, he's probably not going to be on the football field for another month, so you can probably wait to stash him. But if you're looking for a guy to throw into your IR spot, get Keaton in there. I also like Blake Corum, who looked really good in a limited role. Just in case Kyron were to ever get hurt, he would be an RB1. Jalen Wright for the Dolphins with Devon Achane suffering that concussion. Yes, they're headed into a bye week, but Jalen Wright looked really good with his opportunities on Sunday. Another explosive guy on what will be a better offense once Tua returns. Roschon Johnson seems to be the goal line back for the Bears as he had 2 rushing touchdowns. While it does seem like the DeAndre Swift show, I like Roschon as an insurance piece, a bench stash who has a lot of upside if Swift were to go down. Kendre Miller, another running back you want to stash if something were to ever happen to Alvin Kamara, and Tyler Algier for the Falcons if something were to ever happen to Bijan. Both of those guys have tremendous upside. It's the season now where you start stashing these RB2s that you can get for really cheap on your team that would be RB1s if the starter were to ever go down. That's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. If you took away anything from the video, if you could please subscribe to the channel, like the video. It helps me out more than you know, and I will see you in the next one.